the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
The way here, Dylan Dreiling, what makes him great, why he'll be the everyday left fielder, and how he has evolved as a player since he first stepped on campus, and why Tennessee fans should be very excited about his future in Knoxville.
Well, to start, what he's good at, what's there to excite about, I'll go back to something that Griffin Merritt said last year when talking to us, maybe the Vanderbilt game when Dylan Dreiling, I guess that would have been it, when Dylan Dreiling hit one of those home runs in the ninth inning that got Tennessee back in the game, and Griffin Merritt ended up hitting the walk-off. I think he had the walk-off in that game. Certainly a big home run, and he was like, Dylan Dreiling is a dude that gives tips to other hitters, and they listen to, and you're talking about tips as far as what they're seeing from the pitcher standpoint. And you're talking about a true freshman who didn't start and was coming off the bench in that game late, or coming out of the dugout late. And he had, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, ridiculous stats as a pinch hitter last season, like incredible weapon versatility. So he's just, and I say all that to say, just a natural hitter and has really good hitting instincts. He can hit for average, he can hit for power. There's a lot to like there. And I think the question, as always is a question for one of these guys stepping up into a bigger role, is how do they handle being out there every single day? How do they handle being more scouted? We'll still see exactly what his role is, but, and potentially in his case, how does he handle being the number 2 to number 5, a hitter in the middle of the lineup or the top of the lineup that people circle, as opposed to a fringe starter or a pinch hitter? Like, that changes things. The other thing, and where I think he's probably grown the most, is just what he's done defensively. He was not much of a skilled defender when he got to Tennessee. I know that was a huge emphasis for him after his first fall. I remembered him talking about him going home to, I'm trying to remember where he's from.
Kansas, right?
Yeah, it's Kansas, yes. They had all those guys. They had Stanwich from Illinois, Chapman from Colorado, and him from Kansas. And talking about him going home over Christmas break and like working on his defense every day and fielding, and me just thinking, man, being outside working as a defender in December in Kansas sounds awful. So I think
Tennessee baseball, because that man has that dog, and if you're doing that, all about it.
Yeah, so I think he's a really mature player, and that's what there is that's already really good about him, and that's also where you can see him growing and improving, and why he's stepping into a role that it looks like he'll certainly be in Tennessee's starting lineup, and is certainly the odds-on favorite to be a starting left fielder.
Yeah, I think that should be the case. He is just going to continue. Tennessee fans are going to be like, is that Drew Gilbert or is that Dylan Dreiling? Like, it's going to be one of those, because he has the same build. He has the same kind of personality, it seems like. I don't think anyone will ever have the same kind of intensity that Drew Gilbert had, and I miss it every day. But I do think Dreiling has some... He's just not really scared. Like, he was in some huge pinch hit roles this past year. Tony Caldwell clearly trusted him. He seems like he's going to be a high OBP guy always while he's at Tennessee. I think he's just a smart hitter and just going to be a pain to get out. Maybe the best version is like he's a cross between Dreiling and Dickey, where Dickey was like that, where Gilbert and Dickey. Yeah, like I think that's how that would be my best case scenario for Dreiling, is some combination between that, where Gilbert just had more of the power and raw power, I think, that I don't necessarily think Dreiling will ever be, because I think part of Dreiling's appeal is, like, I think he just wants to bat like 345, like at the college level, and I think that's possible for him to be that kind of Jared Dickey high average pain in the butt to get out from the lefty side of things. And I think Gilbert was like, I'll sacrifice average while swinging for the fences more often than not, especially when he got moved in that 4 hole. But I don't know. That's my gut, is Dreiling some kind of cross between those two.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You kind of saw the way you're describing that cross. I think you kind of saw Gilbert become that, like his junior year. Gilbert, let's not let it be forgotten that he had like the second highest batting average in the SEC his junior year. He became so much better hitter from his sophomore year to his junior year. And yeah, Dreiling, like, he doesn't have the brashness that Drew Gilbert has, and maybe we see more of that as he steps into a bigger role and like proves it. But he does have the intensity. Like, that's where I think you're on the nose with it. I think he's a really, really intense guy and a really competitive guy in the same way. So a lot to be excited about with him. And again, he's one. You look at the Tennessee lineup and we talk about it, how it should be so much better, and I think it will be so much better. And usually when you say that, you have a lot of guys back. And Tennessee has some guys back, but really, I think where more of that excitement comes from, certainly the transfer portal guys in Amick and Peebles, but it's guys like Dreiling and it's guys like Gavaris Tiers who we've seen a little bit of it from and have been on campus for a little bit that seem really poised to step up and take a big step forward.
I'm excited. He's locked in at the left field spot. We'll see how he hangs in there defensively, but I'm not really worried about Dreiling in left field going into next year. He's like one of the ones I've penciled in that like I would be very surprised if Dreiling's not a really good everyday player for Tennessee this year.
Yeah, no, I feel.
Where do you think he bats in
similarly.
the order?
Yeah, I think that's some of that will be just interesting. Of again, Tennessee's gonna have a ton of lefties, so like how does Tony Vitello stagger that, which we've seen he likes to do. Second is the spot that I think really makes a lot of sense for him because he has some power, but he also gets on base at such a high rate, and it feels like you're gonna start the season with.
Where does Hunter Hensley go in this scenario? 1?
Maybe a 1. I mean, I'm trying to think it all through, but it feels like you have 3, 4, 5 is some version of Christian Moore, Billy Amick, and Blake Burke.
Cannon Peebles. Oh. Blake Burke should not be around 3, 4, 5 until proven otherwise.
Look, I get why you say that, but again, Blake Burke was one of Tennessee's 2 best hitters in fall practice, and that's how coaches are going to be.
He can't hurt me again. I won't do this until he proves it. I can't do this. Call me in March. Like, I need to see SEC play Blake Burke.
I get that, but you're not going. I completely get that. But when you're talking about where things are going to start at the beginning of the year, you're going to do what you see in practice. And he was again really good, and it was, and like he did a lot of this in the fall 2 years ago too. But like it wasn't just power. Like his OBP, his batting average was really good. So I don't know. There's a lot of intriguing options for the batting order, and I've had my hands full with football offseason and basketball that I haven't sat down and figured it all out.
Ryan Schumpert over here just making excuses for not grinding the fall camp tape here.
That's the problem. We're so far away from fall camp. College baseball is so absurd in so many ways, and chief among them is the fact that the actual preseason that matters most, and the biggest conclusions to get drawn from coaches happens 4 months before the season starts, and then they come back for like 4 weeks, 3.5 weeks in practice in the dead of winter. He gets started in the full, more full team stuff, and it'll be snowing this week, and it's like you don't even draw as many conclusions from that. So I don't know.
And guys,
college baseball
it's a brutal thing, man. College baseball is brutal because these kids who come back for fall camp, and you look at the numbers, you're like, holy crap, they're bringing back how many walk-ons? And you're like, because it's like it's just weird. College baseball is weird, but it's also just like the Hunger Games on SEC campuses right now.
It's like Bear Bryant Alabama football rosters before they put scholarship limits on.
Yeah,
it's just got like.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.